Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of this brand new podcast. This podcast is going to introduce you to a totally different side of some of your favourite content creators from both Twitch and YouTube. My guest today is a streamer whose rise in 2020 has been nothing short of remarkable. His journey on Twitch started in June last year, and within 7 months he's managed to gain around 1,100 followers and currently sitting on 500 subs. He's one of the newest members of Team 7, having been picked up as an early recruit in November. You may know him as EnvyTheKiwi, but I know him simply as Matt. So Matt, welcome.
Hello, Stu.
How are we?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you today?
I'm absolutely fabulous now that you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. Nervous?
Yeah, always. Always nervous.
Excellent. That's just what we want.
Yeah.
Matt, if it's okay, I'm going to start by talking about streaming. Probably seems the most obvious place to start. So, as I said in the intro before, you started in around June last year. What got you into streaming? What was your motivation? Why did you start?
Well, there was no actual reason why I decided to start streaming. There was nothing behind it motivating me as to, let's start streaming, let's try go big time, or let's do any of this. It was actually me playing Plutonium. I got a new PC for that, and I wanted. At one point, I wanted to see if it was good enough to handle streaming with my Elgato. And I think originally I decided I would just stream through the console anyway, just to see how it went. Honestly, I don't remember the first day I decided, hey, why don't I just stream and play zombies? I think it was like a bunch of my friends, we decided we wanted to rerun the original Easter eggs on Black Ops 3. And I decided I'll decided to stream that one, and that was my first ever stream, which ended up being about 12 hours long. And it was the excitement of people coming in, not expecting to have anybody there apart from my friends, to actually see people coming in and wanting to chat and wanting to help or stuff like that. It was that point I was just like I was on a high, and I just wanted to keep going. It was like 6 hours in, and I felt like it had only been 30 minutes, and then by the 12-hour mark I was like, okay, I should probably sleep at this point, but I thought, wow, what a night that was. And at that point I just never stopped. I just wanted to keep going, and that has been the motivation, of just having people to talk to.
Yeah, so I don't know whether many people would know this. I was in that stream. That was where we first met each other. Looking back on where you started then and now where you're up to now, how different is that? So in terms of if you were a brand new streamer and you were getting into streaming, if you think about your setup and everything that you started then, like how different, how much have you changed in that time?
I think so. Obviously, like, the whole setup has changed. So like I used to have just the Elgato by itself. Not even that. I used to actually just stream through the console and use the microphone on my headset. At the time, I had like a A10 Astro, so it's not like I had a great microphone or a great setup or anything. I only had my one monitor, and I was reading chat off my phone at one point. And I did have a laptop the second time I streamed, but the first time, at least like halfway through, I was using my phone, and then the rest of the half I ended up using my laptop. And I think the most that's changed is, like, I've become more confident in doing it. Like, originally you get scared, or at least I do. At least at first, like, I'd get nervous to stream, to talk to people, for people to hear my voice and to read out their stuff. It's just, sometimes it's a bit overwhelming, but in that sense, over the 8 months, anybody that's been around for a little while or has got time to know me, I don't know, they just kind of get comfortable in that sense, and you can I can just be myself, and it's just, it's really nice because I can be myself. Like the main thing that's changed is I feel like I've become more confident in streaming, in that sense, to broadcast to multiple people.
And when you were talking about sort of your nerves and worrying about different things, can you think of a time when that sort of clicked into place? Because I know when you first started, you were quite nervous about putting your face cam on, and that took a little bit of time and things like that. So was there a point where you got to it and it clicked, or is that something you still deal with?
At this point, I no longer deal with that nerve. I think, the longer you watch your other friends stream with cams, you can pick up a lot from them, and I think it's a lot to do with the people you hang out with and their like so-called energy that they bring towards your stream or towards you, and like positive reinforcement and stuff like that helps. Like I know that people sometimes will put up a face cam for like their face reveal, and they'll get like, that toxicity will be terrible for like a first stream. But in saying that, you just kind of not let it bother you and just kind of let it just kind of pass, so to speak, and just not worry about it. But I think the nerves on that side, they're no longer there at all. I think they've long gone. I mean, if anything, I'm excited to get in front of the camera. I'm excited to stream.
Sort of on the same line, was there ever a time that you felt that you wanted to stop streaming?
No, not at all. There's not been there's not, just always been. I mean, there was one time where I was doing like 10 weeks of daily streams, and I did get a bit obsessed with the numbers, in the sense of not the numbers of how many people are coming through the stream, but how many days I'd been live in a row, like consecutive days. And so one day where I felt a little bit bad, and I didn't want to stream, and I didn't end up streaming. At that point, I was like, I've ruined it. Like I'm not going to be able to keep on my consistent number. And at that point, that was probably the only point where I was like, well, now I've just ruined it. I don't feel like doing it anymore. But then I realized, that's stupid. That's not the mentality to have. It's only one day out of, so many days that I've been streaming. So we carried on, and we just, at that point, we made a schedule. And I think the schedule is the best thing that has ever happened to my channel, to be honest. Having a schedule is a good idea, definitely.
It's interesting that you mentioned the numbers. I know from me, when I stream, it's something that I obsess about. So I'm up constantly looking if there's any viewers. I'm constantly looking if there's any new follows, how many people are chatting. You don't seem to really talk about that much, or it certainly doesn't come across in your stream. So have you got any advice on how you kind of get over that for people who maybe struggle with that?
The best thing that I've ever done to my channel when I'm streaming is, obviously you keep your alerts up and stuff like that, because you want to see who follows you, you want to see who raids you, you want to see whatever alert it might be. So you want to see all your alerts. You leave that up. The best thing that I can recommend to anybody starting off, or even just generally, is to turn off your viewer count. Hide it so you can't see it, because at that point your streams just they go so much better, because you're not, I mean, yes, subconsciously you might be worried about how many people are actually viewing your stream, but if you can't see that number, majority of the time you end up having a better stream in that regard, because you're not so focused on it. And I can still imagine like you being a little bit focused behind, like wanting to know what the number is and clicking unhide or something like that. But for me, a good example is when Cold War came out. I didn't have the game originally, and so I could only stream Modern Warfare. And I knew that the stream was going to do really bad with viewer count wise. So that's the first time I hit the viewer count, and ever since then I've been hiding it ever since. But basically, that stream, I ended up having a lot of fun. I had quite a lot of fun. There was people that came through, people that said hello. They might not have stayed long. I wouldn't have known that. But I had a lot of fun at that stream. By the time I went to raid out, I raided for 2 people. And for me, that was a very low number at that time. So, but at the same time, I had a really good stream. So yeah, it's a good idea to hide your viewer count. That's the best thing that I can recommend.
So in terms of games, before we move on to talking about gaming properly, what you mentioned before, Plutonium, which is obviously the server based for the older Call of Duty games. What sort of games got you into streaming? Or did games get you into streaming? I assume that most people who stream love gaming.
Well, so what built my channel, and as you would know, what built my channel originally was playing zombies. So just Black Ops 2 zombies, doing Easter eggs, not high rounds. I was never a high round player. It was all just doing Easter eggs. On Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4. So obviously we started with Black Ops 3 and we did those, and then we went to Black Ops 4 and we did those. And that's what really built my channel at the start, and what really gave me like a solid ground to work with. And that's how I met a lot of people. That's how I met Stu. That's how I met quite a few of the OGs that are still in the chat now. And basically we just kind of went from there, and every now and then I'll go back, but it's always just been basically whatever I usually play, whatever I've always enjoyed, which has pretty much always been Call of Duty. You just stream that content because that's what you enjoy. And majority of the time nowadays, I end up prioritizing the chat over my gameplay anyway, so I don't end up doing so well in game because I'm so focused on everybody else. But that's how I'd rather have it, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of questions on the back of that. Personally, I'm always telling you to do zombies because zombies is my favourite game to watch. How conscious are you of what games you're playing affecting your viewership? Is that something that you're conscious of, or is it just a case of this is what I want to play?
It can definitely be. It can definitely be that, absolutely. The whole, because obviously there is still the numbers factor at the end of the day. When you see your channel doing so well, you kind of want to carry on with it doing so well. You want to see it grow. Once you may not see the stream count during the stream, but you can still see your stream summary at the end. And if you see, for example, if I streamed, let's just say hypothetically, if I streamed Call of Duty Black Ops all night, just playing Cold War or something, and I saw the average viewer at the end of that was 20, for example, but then the next day, we're like, okay, yeah, let's play zombies, or let's play Overwatch, or let's play whatever else, and then you see at the end your stream summary was 8 average view people. It can kind of upset you in that way. But the one thing that I've learnt the most is that you kind of have to play what you enjoy regardless of the sub or the viewer count. Sorry. I think the most for me is having people to play with. If I don't have people to play with, it gets boring, and I will just stream my main game. For example, recently I've been playing a lot more other games, more recently than others. So I've been playing Phasmophobia, I've been playing Overwatch, I've been playing other things on stream, and I can tell that the numbers do worse, but I'm having more fun. So earlier in the year, I would have, towards the end of last year, I would have been more upset by the numbers, but at this point, I kind of just go with it to have fun, really.
Okay, so Matt, before we move on from streaming, just to sort of wrap it up, I want you to give me a high point and a low point of streaming in the last 7 months that you've had.
Goodness.
I've put you on the spot now, haven't I?
Yeah, I mean, I know I can give you so many high points, but a low point is always a hard one. I think a low point I can't specifically point any kind of day specifically or stream specifically that I know of. I think it's any of the streams earlier, before at least I'd say the 6 month mark, where a lot of the regulars that used to come by had to stop coming by as much because of work starting back up or school starting back up, and so you could see a lot of the regulars either not coming back or the numbers not doing as well because of that. And I think anytime where you don't have your chat as active as it used to be, or as active as normal, so to speak, I think that's kind of a low point. But then again, like I said, I can't specifically point a specific day as to where the lowest point is, or stream, but any of those days where you know that people aren't tuning in as much, it just kind of, on compared to a regular stream, that is. So if I have, my normal streams where people are there, let's say we average 15 people, and people are in the chat, people are being interactive and that stuff. But then the next day, just no one shows up. Those are the low points, but there's no specific day. High points. So the high streams, the highest points I can give you, Benny. I mean, the most probably most recent one would be the recent 24-hour stream, and that as painful as that was a lot of fun. I had the most amazing time. I had a crazy amount of support. It was an absolute, just seeing everything the way it went. I mean, like I said, I have my viewers off and everything, but people were constantly telling me like, "Hey, bro, you're sitting on, 40 average viewers, or you're sitting on 50 viewers, or it could be anything like that." But and I kind of just try not to. Yeah. Well, I disabled it for a reason, and I ended up doing a lot better than what I thought I was going to do, and that was probably the most recent high point that I can remember. And I think that stream specifically will always be one of the best streams I've had so far in the whole of my 7 to 8 months of streaming.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about life. So outside of streaming, growing up, talk to me about your background.
Right, okay. So basically, for anybody who doesn't know, so I was born in Lower Hutt, Wellington, which is in New Zealand. And my mum, obviously, she married my dad, was a Muslim. And so they were together for a good 2-3 years, and basically they split up just because of cultural reasons, and they stayed good friends in that aspect. They never hated each other or anything like that, but we ended up moving away up to Auckland, which is about an 8-hour drive away from Wellington. So my visitation of my dad ended up being just during the school holidays. Which was fine, it was nice. I mean, I loved my dad and everything. It was like good, you'd go through your whole 10 to 12 weeks at school, and then you'd have your 2-week holiday. So I'd be down at my dad's 4 times a year, basically, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then 6 weeks. So it's not like I never got to see him or anything. We spent a lot of time moving around as kids. Basically, my mum didn't always have the best taste in men, and that caused us to be moving around quite a bit. So growing up was definitely hard. I think I was once enrolled at a school at one point for like 2 weeks before I was pulled out, and we were moving again. So growing up definitely wasn't easy. Once we got to about a college age, so that's around like 13 or so, that's when things started getting a lot harder in my life personally. So in that year we had my dad passed away, and for me that was really hard, because my dad was obviously my biggest inspiration, the one person I looked up to the most. It was quite difficult because I wanted to live with him, and my mum said, I couldn't because of the English barrier that my dad had, being that English wasn't his first language. I think what was really hard, and what I feel like I regret to this day, is like my biggest regret in that sense is that when my dad was really sick, I was just getting settled in school. Like, I was in my first year of college. I had good friends. I was part of a football club. Everything was really nice. And for once, I was kind of feeling like a child. And my dad got really sick, and my mum came over to my friend's place to pick me up and said, "Hey, look, we're going down to Wellington. Your dad's in hospital." And I said, I want to go. And my friend was like, "Oh, come on, bro. Like, this is going to be our first soccer game together, and, it's going to be really fun and everything like that." And I said, I was really torn about whether I go with my mum or stay with my friend. And I said to my mum eventually, I said, "Hey, look, I don't want to go. I'm going to stay." And she's like, "Well, don't come crying to me if you don't get to see your dad again." And at that point, it was really hard. And unfortunately, that was the last time they all saw him before he passed, which is really sad. And that, to this day, has probably been my biggest regret, and the one thing I regret the most. Oh, shit, it's getting hard now. Yeah, I think that's the one thing I will always regret. Then later that year, my mum was an addict, so she was addicted to alcohol and drugs, and she's clean now, by the way. But at the time, she was addicted to alcohol and drugs, and so on top of losing my dad, me and my two younger sisters ended up getting taken off our mother and placed into SIFS, which is over here. It's like a child, youth and family, so like a protection services type of thing, child services thing, and basically placed in care. And so I was 13, and not going through the easiest time in life, having lose your family member and your father or your mother, and regardless of who it is, it's not easy, and then to be taken away from your mum as well is always harder, I guess. So me being the sibling I am, I was the one that had to kind of grow up a lot faster than any child kind of would. So at the age of like 6, my little sister was born, and at the time she wasn't the best environment, and she was born with a dislocated hip. And so basically I spent my childhood, whenever there was domestics at home, I would take her to the neighbours with her food, with her nappies, whatever it might be. And basically I was the one that was kind of being the father figure instead of her father, so to speak. And that same pattern repeated itself with my youngest sister. So basically I looked after them as we were going through the whole process of being shifted between house to house while we were in care. But the first few months of it was real difficult, because I think I found it really hard, because obviously of what just happened with my dad. It was really hard to accept being taken away from my mum. So the first house we got moved to, I ended up trying to run back to where she was, and we ended up getting in trouble. We ended up getting shifted houses, and I did the exact same thing, and then we ended up getting in trouble again. And basically that happened a few times, and once we finally got moved into another place, they said, "Hey, look, if you do this again, basically we're going to split all three of you up." And at that point I said, I can't let that happen. So we stayed there for the rest of the time, and honestly that was the turning point of my life. I mean, my mum will always, well, not always, but at the time she didn't like the idea of me living there, but I learned a lot being there, basically. So when I was living at home, it was kind of more like, if I didn't want to go to school, I didn't go to school. If I didn't want to do homework, I didn't do homework. There was no discipline at home in that sense. So basically, when I got put in care, I was so used to having a specific lifestyle. I'd come home before, when I was at home with my mum, I'd come home, I'd go down to the skate park with my friends, I'd be out on the weekends, just doing whatever you wanted to do as a child. And basically when I got put into care, I remember the first day I got home from school, I said, "Hey, look, can I go to the skate park?" And I remember then they said, "Hey, do you have any homework?" And I said, "Homework? No, I don't have homework." And they said, "Okay, cool." And I shot down to the skate park. And I came back and I found out they had called my school to find out if I have homework. And yeah, funny enough, I did. And basically, I got in trouble. And they said to me, basically, the line was not tolerated and all that stuff. They went through this whole thing. And from that day onwards, I had to always do my homework before I went out, and I had to show them my homework as well. There was a lot of aspects to being in care that helped me a lot. But I did way better in school. As much as I might have hated it, I did way better in school. My attendance was right up there. I learned how to drive, for example. I learned how to do so many different things while amongst that environment that I wouldn't have done if I was still living with my mum, because those opportunities wouldn't have been available. Back in 2011, I think it was, I got a scholarship for what's it called, a William Wallace Award. And I went on a trip which is called the Spirit of Adventure, which is like an 11-day voyage. And that was probably one of my highlights of being a child, for example. That was probably one of the biggest times in my childhood career, so to speak. And at the age of 17, I ended up getting discharged, and basically, you can do whatever you want to do at that point. You're not in the system anymore. And at that point, I moved back to my mum's, and that's when I ended up falling in love with Black Ops 2, and the gaming form of me began. And that's pretty much leads up to where we are. I mean, I spent I moved out of my mum's eventually because she moved down the line. And I didn't want to move with her, so I spent about 3 years living by myself with a couple other guys. And as fun as it was, I ended up moving in with my friend, and this is where we are today. This is ended up gaming down here. And it wasn't until one day when my friend said, "Hey, look, get a desk set up, get a monitor," and we kind of just went from there. And it's what we built ever since, kind of. Yeah.
Looking back on everything that you've been through, if you could go back in time now and you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell them?
Oh, I would say just to focus more in so many aspects. I mean, one of the main things is for me I feel like I haven't been thankful enough for people that have helped me along the way growing up. Be more self-aware of those around you who help you. Focus more on things like that. I mean, everybody will always say focus more on school, and that when you're in school, it's hard to accept that. It's just like just teachers chatting, But it's so important to focus in school, and so many different aspects. Yeah, just
looking back on your life so far, can you think of? Does it feel different than what you would have imagined?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was really young, so when I was not really young, so basically when I was living with my mum still, I felt I was going to go down the same path, in that aspect. I mean, I got involved with some people, and I did, some things that, we shouldn't really do as kids and stuff like that. I'm talking about, maybe drugs and alcohol, getting involved at a really young age. And I kind of just felt myself going down that same path, if I was not to be taken off her in that aspect. So, looking back at that part of my life, I'm glad, that what happened in the sense of being taken off our mum. And even she, at this stage, she's to this day very happy. And obviously I love my mum. There's no bad blood. She's a great woman. I love my mum. But back then I think she was just confused, and me, I was also confused, and I'm glad that I've turned out how I've turned out, because I feel like there's been people that have gone through the same situation and ended up much worse.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way that you talk about being through the system and being in care, because I feel like a lot of people, if I had the same conversation with them, would probably have a negative outlook.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, that's, I think, why Originally, I wanted to go work with children in care. I think that's originally what I wanted to do, and because of that aspect is that you have a lot of people with a negative opinion on how being in the system works and how being in care isn't a good thing. And in so many cases, there's been that I've talked to plenty of children over the years, gone to many little youth camps and stuff like that, and you hear how people just feel like, it's ruining life for them. And, you also talk to a lot of people about how good it is for them. And not everybody is going to be the same, and not everyone's going to share the same experience. Not everybody's going to have the same care in that aspect that I had as another household and for somebody else. So I can't say that every system, every house in the system, so to speak, is going to show the same kind of compassion and love in that aspect. I got fortunate enough to have some people that actually wanted to make a difference in our lives, but they did it in a way that I was not used to, because I wasn't used to that discipline. I wasn't used to having to do things or having a schedule and all that stuff. So yeah, but it also was, like I said, probably the best time in my life growing up as a kid was being in care. This is not regarding with my dad being alive. I mean, all of those years would always, hands down, be the best times of my life. No doubt. But I'm talking about growing up as a kid. If I'm just talking about in my life, I mean, being in care was probably the best time. I learned how to drive. Like I said, I was part of a football club for school and for club. I did karate for a bit. I went to school every day. I did a lot of things, and that is always going to be something that I'll never forget.
Okay, so we mentioned in the intro earlier on that you've become one of the newest members of Team 7. You were picked up in November as an early recruit.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, because I'm someone who, as you know, doesn't understand anything about being in a team. So talk to me about the process and basically the benefits.
Yeah. Originally, they were the same leaders. So Mario and Tim were the leaders for L7 back in the day. And back then that was a team. People really wanted to join that team. It was a massive team back then, and joining them was never something that I thought I would be capable of doing. Especially not back in the Black Ops 2 days. Anyway, I didn't even record or anything, so I knew I wasn't going to stand a chance, even if I did try. But over the years, I mean, I never really went for recruitment challenges. I just never really saw myself capable of being picked up or showing anything, having anything to bring towards a team, bring to the table, so to speak. And yeah, I don't know. I just never really had that support behind me in terms of people really rooting for me or wanting me to get picked up to something. And then since 7 was founded back in, I believe it was February, I've been supporting them, but I never really thought to myself, hey, why don't we try join their team? I did talk to Andrew, which is Mario, quite some months back, and I did ask him about how to join, and he did mention, we're going to be having a recruitment challenge coming up soon. And, the thought through my head, I was like, okay, do you think, personally, I thought to myself, do you think you're good enough to be picked up? And at the time, I don't think I felt confident enough in myself. But I think that's another thing to do with the whole streaming aspect is, you get that support, you get that confidence. And when I saw they announced their recruitment challenge, I mean, I didn't tell anybody originally that I was going to go for it. And it wasn't until I saw their video and I was like, hey man, I can bring something to the table. I can do something here. I can create content. I can stream. I can bring people to the team. They can, we can help each other grow in that aspect. And so that's what I did. I went for the recruitment challenge and like you said, I got picked up as an early recruit, and I had some crazy support behind me. From people who came to the stream to people who I'd never talked to on Twitter before. People just they really supported me, and I've never seen something or felt something like that, and it was really, really, really cool. And I still remember the night, where I was watching the live stream where they were picking up the recruit, and they were talking about how, it's going to be an early recruit, someone who you're not expecting. And, I had a few of my friends at the time messaging me saying, do you know who it's going to be? Are you the pickup? And I was like, no, bro, it's not going to be me. It's going to be this guy. I thought it was going to be someone called Gucky, who ended up getting picked up, but I thought it was going to be him. And I just never thought that I'd be actually picked up. And then as we got closer, as Tim does his as Mario does his thing at bringing in this tension and this building the suspense, so to speak. My phone was blowing up. People were like, bro, it's going to be you. It's going to be you. You're going to be picked up. And I was getting all nervous, and I started shaking, and I was sitting in my chair, bro, and I was going like this, I was like, is it really going to be me? Like, is it going to be me? And then, and then my friends, my phone was just going crazy. And then, Andrew was like, this is somebody who's been supporting our sevens since back in the day, someone who's been supporting Seven, someone who's been supporting me since back in the day. And then at that point, my friends were like, bro, it is 100% you. I was like, stop. And then they said, they replied to the video, and I was going through trying to look between screens. I was like, I can't find this comment. Where's this comment? And I was getting all nervous because my friends had already hyped me up in that sense. And I was really like, I was just like, I don't know, it was a surreal feeling. And then I couldn't find it, and I switched tabs to go back to the Seven chat, and I just see my name flooding through the comments, and I was in disbelief. I just sat in my chair, and I was just, I have a reaction of myself, and I was just basically I won't say it for the sake of the recording, but I was mind blown. But it was absolutely ridiculous. But going forward, I think being part of Seven is always going to be one of the biggest highlights throughout my streaming career. It's also going to be somewhere where I try build myself, because without them, I don't think I would have been as motivated to try and create content to grow other socials, because I want to be able to show my worth to the team. I want to be able to create things. I want to be able to make things with other members in that team. I want to be able to just grow as a whole within the team, and with the team support help me grow and me actually show something that I can bring to the table in that aspect. So I think joining them is definitely something that I will always be thankful for, regardless of how long I'm in the team, whether something happens or not. I don't know, but I'm just saying, all I can say is just thank you to the leaders over in Seven. Shout out to Tim and Mario.
Yeah, definitely. What's sort of the end goal, or not the end goal, but what's your plan within Seven? Where do you want to go with it?
Well, so basically what I want to do, like I said, is I want to create content from this point. So I want to basically go through all my streams. I want to make videos. I want to do things like that. I want to grow my socials. I want to basically, I'm really happy. I don't know how long this train will last. If my road comes to an end, I don't know. But basically, I want to be here until the end. Basically, I'm going to support the team with everything I can, and I hope that they can do the same and support me in that sense if I ever need anything in that regard. Yeah, I mean, this I think that it's one of the best things that has happened for me to be able to grow myself in the whole aspect. Like I said, I mean, I never really was motivated to make videos, but I am wanting to make them now because, like I said, the whole bringing something. So I think that's almost like a reason to do things with my channel rather than just being a streamer, being a content creator and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's helped better myself in that aspect.
What type of influence has it had over your viewership?
It definitely does help. Like, it definitely does help. And it's not necessarily just so the one major thing I saw for my channel was when I was going through for the RC. I think that was one of the best times because there was so much support from so many different people. You know, like lots of people would, not lots, I won't say lots, but well, there was actually a lot, but lots on Twitter, but a few people would come through the actual stream and support me in the stream, and I would do the same to them. You know, I'd go back to them and I'd show them love as much as I can. You know, I'd vouch for them as much as I can. And I think that's the part that I really enjoyed out of the recruitment challenge, is having a lot of people, like everybody was so interactive with each other, so supportive with each other. And, you know, I still support a lot of the grinders that still grind now, and a lot of the people that, you know, either stopped their grind for 7 or, you know, still grinding for it, or haven't made it yet. You know, I still go support them as much as I can, and they still do the same to me. So, yeah, it's been amazing so far. But it definitely has helped. Joining has helped, and the whole process of the recruitment challenge has helped. Yeah, amazing.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions then, to sort of wrap things up. So, for someone looking to get into streaming, or maybe has just started before the, you know, get into affiliates and everything like that, what's your biggest advice that you'd give to them at this point?
I think the biggest thing is, I see a lot of people starting out and they play by themselves. The biggest thing, I know not everybody has the equipment to stream and be able to hear audio with your party and stuff like that, but even having somebody in your ear in a party chat, in a Discord or whatever you might be, just in case, you know, you don't always like have people in your chat, that way your stream isn't necessarily boring of you just sitting there in dead silence playing the game. You know, if you can talk to somebody else in your game that's or in somebody else in your party chat or anything like that, a bunch of friends, that's something that helps. So that's just breaks the silence. So that definitely helps in that aspect. Like me, for example, I always had Tida by my side in party chats and stuff when I was growing my channel. You know, he was always there for that aspect. Then the other advice would be to interact as much as you can with your chat. You know, try draw them out. If you see that you've got, if you see that you've got, you know, 2 viewers or 1 viewer that isn't you, you know it isn't you, and you know it's not your friend or something, try draw them out. You know, ask them, is there anybody there? Is you know, how's your day going? Anything that you might think could bring them out to interact with you. Support other streamers. That's also another really big one, is going through people's chats and talking to other people, and talking to their community, because I feel with me that's something that helped me a lot. You know, I was watching Twitch for about 3 years prior to actually streaming, so I knew a few different people, and those people within those chats can come through and support you, and that's always another thing. So get to know people on Twitch. That's always a massive as well. Interact as much, get friends, build a community. Those I feel are like the biggest things you can do. And I know it's always hard as a starting streamer, but you know, consistency will get you there as well. But obviously within reason, don't burn yourself out and stream 12 hours a day and not see any change. You know, take breaks. Those are important.
So lastly then, just to wrap things up, what's next for Envy? What's the plan in terms of 2021 and onwards into the future?
So this year, there's a few things I want to do this year. So this year, obviously the main goal here is I want to, so stream wise I want to try and average an average of 40 to 50 people at my stream. I want to have that average by the end of the year. I'm hoping to have that many people in my chat. I mean, if we don't do it and we still get near, you know, that's still successful in my opinion. Other things that are happening, I want to bring out some merch this year. You know, whether it's hoodies, t-shirts and stuff like that. I'm not going to go too much into it because it's kind of a secret. But merch is definitely something I want to look into this year. You The big goal is going to be partner, whether that'll happen this year or next year, I'm not too sure. But like I said, I'm going to start my goal with having an average of 40 to 50 people, and that would be absolutely mind-blowing. But yeah, I mean, this year I want to just pump out content. I want to be able to grow multiple socials, stuff like that. There's a lot of things happening this year that I want to do, and outside of streaming, I just want to be able to manage myself in that aspect of eating healthy, going to the gym regularly, and staying fit in that aspect, because I feel like that as and amongst of all of this is still the most important thing. Trying to not overindulge in too many bad things and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, Matt, so this is your chance now to self-promote.
Awesome.
Tell me what's going on.
Right. Well, basically at this point here, I just want to give a massive shout out to basically everybody who's supported me throughout my 8 months of streaming. So everybody that's come through, regardless if you're there from day one or you're there from yesterday, thank you to everybody who supports me continuously. There's a long list of names, so I won't go through that, but you guys know who you are. You guys can follow me on all socials. It's EnvyTheKiwi everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you name it. I'm all there, EnvyTheKiwi. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to the boys over at 7, so the leaders and all the boys within that team. So thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to make you guys proud. And thank you for having me on board.
Lovely, and all of those links will be down in the description below. Just from me then, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully this is the first episode of many. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you subscribed on Spotify as well if you're listening to the audio. Thanks again from me and from Matt.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Of course.